If you're thinking about replacing your windows, it usually starts with something you've noticed: a draft near the glass, condensation showing up in winter, a room that never quite feels comfortable, or maybe even a bit of mold starting to show up on the frame. It makes sense to connect that to the window itself. That's not always where the decision should start, because what you're noticing is just one part of a much larger system. In a house, heat is always moving, air is always moving, moisture is always moving. Those movements don't happen in isolation. They interact through the walls, through the ceiling, through the floor, and through the openings in between. So when you feel a draft near a window, it might not be just the window. When you see condensation, it might not be just the glass. When a room feels cold, it might not be tied to a single component at all. That's where things can start to go wrong, because the signal is real, but the cause isn't always obvious. And sometimes the thing you're planning to fix isn't what actually is driving the problem. Without a clear way to think it through, it's easy to make a decision that only addresses part of the problem. This is where it gets frustrating. That's why people can replace their windows and still feel drafts, still notice mold showing up in places it shouldn't, still have rooms that don't feel quite right. Not because the windows didn't improve, but because they weren't the whole issue. Most people don't have a clear framework for thinking through these decisions. There isn't usually a simple checklist that tells you exactly what to do. And a lot of times, the house doesn't make it obvious. So the decision ends up being shaped by what's easiest to see and what's easiest to feel, instead of what's actually driving how the house is performing. And that's why these problems tend to repeat. Not because nothing was done, but because the underlying conditions didn't change. So before replacing the windows, it's not just about deciding what to do, it's about understanding what you're actually trying to fix. Better decisions don't usually come from reacting to what you notice first. They come from understanding what you're actually looking at. And that's the part that's harder than it looks. Building science explains it. Applied correctly, it fixes it.